We've owned the FMS A-10 1500mm in both the original version 1 and the newer version 2, which fixed almost everything about V1 that I hated. Except that it introduced one issue that bothered me so much that I had to open the wing and fix it myself. The wingtip lights flash. A poster by the name of Elmo T on RC Groups noticed that there's a resistor that the LEDs are plugged into. If you take the wing plugs out and gently pull the LED wiring until the resistor comes out, you can unplug it and make the wing lights solid. Easy mod, totally worth doing. FMS also improved the thrust line. The original version 1 A-10 had a garbage tier thrust line that severely pitched the nose down if you throttled up at low speed, and this led to bouncing, underpowered landings. It's like the worst kind of thrust vectoring ever made.
Nope, didn't like it. Oh, wow.
Don't take it from me, take it from Hamilton's Hangar on YouTube.
You guys know A-10's nose down whenever you go to get down on the throttle. I gassed it like an idiot and just went straight into the ground pretty much.
I feel your pain, but don't beat yourself up, buddy. The thrust line in version 1 was pretty bad, but it's still a little bit of an issue in version 2, so take my advice and smoothly apply throttle to full at low speeds. Otherwise it'll nose down on you and you'll crash if you're too low. This thrust line tendency also shifts the weight of the jet on the ground, putting more of it on the nose wheel instead of the mains. If you don't throttle up smoothly and let the wings generate lift before you punch it, it'll skate around on the ground. The original plastic wheels of the V1 A-10 were really prone to this, but the new Dubro low bounce treaded rubber wheels that I put on it do the same thing, just to a lesser extent. Smoothly throttle up and the wings will begin flying and taking the weight off of the nose wheel, making this a non-issue entirely. V1 also didn't drop all of the gear if throttle was engaged. I had to climb up, cut throttle, drop the gear, and let it descend before throttling up again. V2 fixed this with a dedicated BEC similar to what you see in free-wing jets. Making things even worse, V1 was prone to the nose gear getting caught and not dropping completely. You'd have to use right rudder while dropping the gear to make it work. All of this combined for a really bad jet, one of the worst I'd ever flown. V2 fixed everything and only introduced the flashing wing lights as an issue. That's a pretty good trade-off in my opinion. I hated V1's issues so much that I used its bad thrust line to do the one thing it was good at, inverted high alpha. Once it crashed, I finished it off for good and got V2 from FMS and haven't ever looked back. I highly recommend SMC 5300, 5800, or 5900 6-cell packs for this jet. High voltage plays well with the ESCs and you'll get additional flight time and thrust out of it. Our battery placement here is ideal for most maneuvers that you'll want to do. V2 is the A-10 that FMS should have come out with originally. It's not a cheap airframe, but you're definitely getting a quality aircraft at this price point. Like I mentioned earlier, ease in on the throttle and you won't have any side slipping on the ground when it gets up to rotation speed. The jet is super predictable if you smoothly apply throttle. If you don't, it'll skid around everywhere. This won't happen on grass though, but grass is bad for airframes, but good for making airplanes track straighter. Kind of a double-edged sword. The gear are pretty robust. They look just like the full-scale gear and are about as tough as the full scale too. It handles landings pretty well. What it doesn't handle are strong side loads like what you'd get from slamming in on one wheel while the jet is banked. The real weak point is the foam that they're mounted to. If your gear tears out on grass, it's fortunately not hard to repair. Use copious amounts of Gorilla Glue and you'll have it stuck on stronger than it was from the factory. The low bounce wheel upgrade also helps absorb some of the shocks of poor landings and makes the wheels nearly silent too. They are totally worth buying. If you want smooth landings with your A-10, line up with the runway, drop flaps and gear, use a little bit of throttle to keep it flying forward while it glides down. Maintain that glide path and gently flare it onto the ground. Steer it to a stop or throttle up and take off again. It's easy once you get the hang of it. Just don't try landing without thrust because it will drop like a rock. If you set it up for differential thrust, you can get some nice ground handling that helps tighten up the turns. All you need is a mix of 50% thrust. Join us on Discord and check out the Setup Guides channel for more info on this. Or you can use differential thrust to perform a knife edge loop. Or better yet, a sweet flat spin. Amaze all your friends by making an A-10 do stuff like this. It's way too much fun.
You got that?
That is awesome.
You're hearing the voice of our buddy Will from the channel RC Pilot Will. Be sure to hit his channel up and send some love his way. This video wouldn't have been possible without his help filming last year.
Almost hit that tree.
FMS really made an improvement to version 2. It also features 1900 kV in-rudders, which are a huge increase in thrust over version 1. I know inverted high alpha isn't something most people think of when they think of an A-10, but it does it. And it does it so damned well that I just keep pushing myself to get better with it. It is ridiculously fun and difficult to master this maneuver on this jet. You have to fully commit to it and slam that stick up to keep it from trying to roll out of it. Steer with rudder and use just enough throttle that it stays in high alpha but doesn't flip over vertically. The closer you get to the ground, the more anxiety-inducing it gets. There is nothing else like it.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Holy shit.
The A-10 is priced at $649, and you can pick up one for yourself from fmshobby.com via the link in the description for 5% off using the code FMS2NR, which helps take the price down a bit and makes it more affordable. The jet flies incredibly well. The servos aren't top-notch, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find better ones in a plug-and-play airframe. The gear are phenomenal. The trim scheme is bright and easy to see, and you can mod in better wheels and get rid of the resistors, making the wingtips flash. If wing cube loading is to be believed, this jet is only accessible to expert pilots, yet it handles so well that even intermediate pilots should have no problems flying it well. It earns a solid 9.5 out of 10 from us. The thrust line is endemic to all model scale A-10s, and if it bothers you enough to mod it out, there's 3D printed nozzles you can install to fix the thrust line. It probably won't remove the pitch down tendency completely, but it'll alleviate it significantly. Thanks for watching, and consider hopping into Discord for more setup guides coming in the near future. See you guys next time.